Imagine waking up every day with a peaceful mind, no matter the chaos around you. Now, picture facing life's biggest challenges with unshakable calm, as if nothing could throw you off balance. Sounds impossible? Not for the Stoics. They mastered an art that few truly understand, the art of controlling the mind. And today, you're going to learn how to apply these ancient principles to your own life. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, anxious, or lost in the turbulence of daily life, this video is for you. We're going to explore 7 Stoic principles that will help you stay calm, even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. And believe me, these lessons are so powerful that they can completely transform the way you see the world. But before we dive in, if this is your first time here, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss any content that could change your life. Now, let's get started. First principle. Accept that you can't control everything. Many people go through life trying to control the uncontrollable, resisting inevitable situations, and getting frustrated with things beyond their grasp. Stoic philosophy teaches that this struggle against reality is one of the main causes of human suffering. Instead of wasting energy trying to change what's out of our control, we should focus on what we can actually influence: our perceptions, attitudes, and choices. One of Stoicism's most valuable lessons is understanding the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. Our thoughts, decisions, and actions are up to us, but external events, other people's opinions, and life's twists and turns are not. Accepting this truth spares us frustration and allows us to focus on what truly matters. The idea that we can shape everything to our will is an illusion that leads to disappointment. The world doesn't adapt to our desires, and insisting on changing what cannot be changed only creates suffering. Instead, the Stoics teach us to shift our perspective. Accepting life as it is rather than how we wish it to be brings a sense of peace and balance. Challenges are inevitable, but how we handle them makes all the difference. What seems like a major obstacle to one person may be an opportunity for growth to another. Resisting difficulties creates suffering. Accepting and learning from them makes us stronger and more resilient. Living stuck in the past or anxious about the future keeps us from enjoying the present. What has already happened cannot be changed, and what's to come is uncertain. The Stoics remind us that the present is the only real moment, and that's where our actions and decisions should be focused. Accepting reality doesn't mean giving up or settling. It means acting with emotional intelligence. When we stop wasting energy fighting the inevitable, we gain more strength to improve what is actually within our reach. Much of human suffering comes from excessive attachment to things, people, and ideas. When we understand that everything in life is temporary, we find a deeper peace. This doesn't mean being indifferent, but rather learning to appreciate the present without fearing change. In the end, accepting reality as it is frees us from unnecessary suffering. Those who grasp this truth live with more tranquility, wisdom, and balance. Acceptance doesn't weaken us, it strengthens us, teaching us to face life with serenity and resilience. Second principle. Mastering emotions. A true Stoic does not seek to eliminate emotions, but to master them. Feeling anger, fear, or sadness is part of being human, but allowing these emotions to take control can lead to impulsive decisions and regret. The key to balance is not suppressing emotions, but understanding, transforming, and using them wisely. The first step to emotional mastery is self-awareness. Before trying to control an emotion, you must recognize it. Whenever a strong feeling arises, ask yourself, what am I feeling? What triggered this reaction? By bringing emotions into consciousness, you reduce their power over you. But recognizing emotions is not enough. True emotional mastery comes from the ability to distance yourself from them. You are not your anger or your fear. These emotions are like passing clouds in the sky of your mind. They come and go, but they do not have to define your actions. When you understand that feeling something does not mean acting on it, you unlock a new level of freedom. The Stoics believe that most uncontrolled emotions stem from misinterpretations of reality. Fear often arises from exaggerated worries, anger from frustrated expectations, and sadness from a distorted view of the past. Before letting any emotion consume you, ask yourself, does this make sense? Is this feeling proportional to what is happening? Rational clarity dissolves many of the dramas we create in our minds. The key difference between someone emotionally strong and someone ruled by impulses is the ability to choose how to respond to each situation. When someone insults you, you can react with fury or stay calm and respond intelligently. When things go wrong, you can surrender to despair or face the problem with serenity. Power lies not in the emotion itself, but in how you choose to use it. And here lies one of Stoicism's most valuable lessons. Every negative emotion can be transformed into growth. Fear can drive preparation. Anger can be channeled into correcting injustices. Sadness can teach acceptance and resilience. What separates the wise from the impulsive is not the absence of feelings, but how they use them to their advantage. The ultimate goal of this journey is not to become insensitive, but to achieve equanimity, the ability to maintain a steady and serene mind, regardless of external circumstances. This does not mean you will never be affected by life's difficulties, but that nothing will shake you beyond what is necessary. Those who master their emotions are not prisoners of external events, and that is true freedom. Interestingly, the final step to emotional control is not fighting emotions but accepting them. A Stoic does not resist what they feel. They observe, understand, and redirect emotions wisely. It is not about becoming cold but about acting with balance, free from impulsive reactions. This mastery does not happen overnight. It requires daily practice, self-awareness, and discipline. But those who persist in this journey discover something valuable: serenity, the freedom to choose how to act, and above all, a richer life guided by reason and virtue. Third principle: seek inner tranquility. Seeking inner tranquility is one of the core pillars of Stoicism. To the Stoics, true peace doesn't come from external circumstances, but from how we interpret and react to the world. They believe that happiness isn't determined by outside events, but by our ability to maintain serenity regardless of the situation. However, this serenity doesn't just happen on its own. It's the result of discipline, self-awareness, and the constant practice of principles that help us strengthen our minds against life's uncertainties. Understanding what's in our control. One of the greatest lessons in Stoicism is distinguishing between what we can control and what is beyond our influence. The weather, other people's opinions, and unexpected events are factors we cannot change. However, how we respond to them is entirely within our control. The Stoics teach that when we place our happiness in external factors, we become vulnerable to frustration. But by focusing on what we can truly influence, our choices, attitudes, and thoughts, we find freedom and emotional stability. Accepting life's flow with wisdom. Impermanence is an inescapable reality. Everything changes. People come and go, good and bad experiences alternate, and challenges arise without warning. Resisting these changes only brings suffering. Stoicism encourages the active acceptance of life as it is. This doesn't mean passivity or resignation, but rather understanding that fighting the inevitable is a losing battle. When we embrace life's ever-changing nature, we find peace and learn to move with events instead of struggling against them, turning challenges into opportunities for growth. To the Stoics, difficulties aren't punishments but valuable opportunities to grow. Every obstacle is a test of resilience, patience, and strength of character. In tough times, we have two choices: complain or learn. A true Stoic chooses to learn. They understand that adversity shapes a stronger, more prepared mind. It's not about avoiding challenges but facing them with courage and wisdom. The freedom of mastering your emotions. Emotions like anger, fear, and anxiety are part of the human experience, but they don't have to control us. The Stoics didn't advocate for suppressing emotions but for self-mastery. The Stoic practice involves observing our emotions rather than reacting impulsively to them. When we learn to understand our feelings and respond rationally, we gain an invaluable freedom: the ability not to be ruled by our emotions. Living with purpose, not excess. A life driven by excess rarely leads to peace. The relentless pursuit of wealth, status, or fleeting pleasures may seem tempting, but it's never enough. There will always be more to desire, more to chase. The Stoics valued moderation and contentment with the essentials. True fulfillment doesn't come from accumulation but from recognizing what truly matters. Living with purpose means channeling energy into what brings meaning instead of constantly seeking what will never be enough. Tranquility as a daily practice. Inner peace isn't a permanent state but a balance that must be cultivated daily. Self-control, reflection, and discipline are essential tools for strengthening the mind. Small habits, like setting aside time for introspection and practicing gratitude, help build this stability. At the end of the day, tranquility isn't a gift from the external world but an internal achievement. Those who learn to live by their values, accept life as it is, and cultivate a balanced mind find a peace that no external turbulence can shake. Fourth principle: healthy indifference. Stoic philosophy presents us with a powerful principle that can completely transform the way we live. Healthy indifference. But do not be misled by the name. This indifference does not mean apathy or coldness. Rather, it is a state of emotional freedom that allows us to live beyond the fluctuations of pleasure and pain. It is an invitation to let go of attachment to external circumstances and find stability within ourselves. The Stoics did not condemn pleasure but warned against its reckless pursuit. When we become obsessed with pleasant sensations, we become hostages to them. The problem is not in enjoying good moments but in depending on them to be happy. Moderation teaches us that true contentment does not come from excess but from the ability to appreciate what we have without becoming slaves to desire. Similarly, if pleasure should not dominate us, the same applies to pain. The Stoics saw suffering as a harsh but necessary teacher. Challenges and difficulties are not punishments but opportunities for growth. Those who learn to endure pain without despair become resilient, unbeatable in the face of life's storms. Pain does not define who we are, our reaction to it does. Money, status, recognition, all of these can vanish in an instant. That is why the Stoics teach us that these things are indifferent, meaning neither good nor bad by nature. The mistake lies in believing that our happiness depends on them. When we free ourselves from this illusion, we find a kind of peace that no external wealth can provide. Many believe that happiness lies in what they possess or achieve, but this is a dangerous trap, as it means that any loss can emotionally ruin us. Healthy indifference gives us a new perspective. We can appreciate without clinging, love without possessing, and enjoy without fearing loss. Those who understand this are not easily shaken. If pleasures and possessions do not bring lasting happiness, what does? For the Stoics, the answer is simple: virtue. Being wise, courageous, just, and balanced is what truly matters. Unlike external circumstances, virtue is within our control. And when we seek it, we find genuine satisfaction that nothing can take away. Cultivating healthy indifference requires a high level of self-control. It is not about ignoring feelings but not allowing them to take control of our actions. Discipline helps us think before acting, to make decisions based on reason rather than emotion. This mastery over oneself is true freedom. Adopting healthy indifference means embracing a life where pleasures and pains lose their power to control us. This does not mean rejecting life's experiences but living them with balance. When we learn to walk the middle path, neither clinging to pleasure nor fearing pain, we discover what it truly means to live with tranquility, purpose, and inner freedom. Fifth principle: practice the four virtues. Since ancient times, the Stoics have understood that a truly fulfilling and balanced life must be built on solid foundations. To achieve this, they identified four fundamental virtues that serve as guides for personal growth and true fulfillment: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These virtues are not just abstract ideas but practical principles that, when cultivated, shape character and strengthen the mind in the face of life's challenges. Wisdom is more than just knowledge. It is the ability to see reality clearly, make thoughtful decisions, and recognize the difference between what we can control and what is beyond our reach. It teaches us to question unfounded beliefs, avoid deception, and act with discernment, even in turbulent moments. Those who seek wisdom learn to navigate life with greater ease, without being led astray by illusions or unnecessary worries. Courage is not the absence of fear but the willingness to do what is right, regardless of circumstances. It manifests when we face adversity without despair, stand up for what we believe in despite opposition, and move forward despite uncertainty. A true Stoic understands that fear may be inevitable, but it should never dictate their choices. Courage gives us the strength to live with integrity, without compromising our values for the sake of convenience. Justice reminds us that we do not live in isolation. It teaches us to treat others with respect, act with fairness, and seek the common good, no matter the situation. For the Stoics, justice is not merely about following laws or social norms, but about cultivating a deep sense of moral responsibility. A just person is not guided by selfishness or personal gain, but by a commitment to doing what is right, even when no one is watching. Temperance is self-control. In a world where excess and impulsiveness are often mistaken for freedom, temperance reminds us that true power comes from moderation. It teaches us not to be slaves to our desires, to balance pleasure with discipline, and to avoid extremes that lead us away from what truly matters. Those who practice temperance do not allow themselves to be ruled by uncontrolled emotions or fleeting pleasures, but maintain a state of balance that leads to inner peace. The Stoics believed that authentic happiness does not come from status, wealth, or external recognition, but from living according to these four virtues. Those who cultivate wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance develop emotional stability that makes them unshakable in the face of life's uncertainties. This journey is not easy and has no final destination. Growing as a person requires continuous effort, reflection, and the willingness to learn from one's mistakes. More than just a philosophy, Stoicism is a way of life. It teaches us to remain calm amid chaos, face difficulties with dignity, and find purpose even in the most challenging moments. Those who commit to living by these principles discover that true freedom does not come from trying to control everything around them, but from developing a strong and unbreakable character. This is the path to a fulfilling, meaningful life in harmony with one's own nature. Sixth principle: live in the present. The Stoics understood something that many of us overlook. The only reality that truly exists is the present moment. The past is gone, the future has not yet arrived, and life happens in the now. This principle is not just a philosophical concept, but a path to a lighter, more productive, and serene life. How many times have you caught yourself reliving moments you cannot change? Regret and guilt are traps that drain our energy and prevent us from moving forward. The Stoics did not deny the past, but saw it as a teacher, a place to learn, not to dwell. Every mistake brings a lesson, every stumble strengthens. The secret lies not in punishing yourself for what has already happened, but in absorbing the learning and moving forward with greater wisdom. If the past holds us back, the future torments us. We spend much of our lives trying to predict, plan, and control what has not yet happened. But the truth is, the future is a blank page. It does not exist. Anxiety arises from the futile attempt to anticipate what may or may not occur. The Stoics taught that the best way to ensure a better tomorrow is to live the present with attention and purpose. Planning is useful, but worrying about the uncertain is a waste of energy. We are so distracted that we fail to notice the small wonders of life. Have you ever stopped to feel the wind on your face, listen to the sound of rain, or truly savor a meal? Appreciating the present is one of the greatest secrets to happiness. When we learn to live in the now, every moment becomes richer and more meaningful. The Stoics remind us to find beauty in the ordinary, for it is where life truly happens. Nothing in the world is under your control except one thing: your actions at this very moment. The past has already been written, the future is a mystery, but what you do now can change everything. Every choice made with wisdom, every action taken with awareness, strengthens your character and builds a solid path for tomorrow. Life does not happen someday. It happens today. Living in the now requires practice. Our minds are restless by nature, always jumping between memories and worries. But just as we train our bodies, we can train our mindfulness. Simple exercises, such as conscious breathing, meditating for a few minutes, or simply focusing entirely on what we are doing, help anchor the mind in the present. The more we practice, the less we are slaves to automatic thoughts, and the more we find clarity and serenity. Much of human suffering does not come from reality but from our resistance to it. We suffer over what is past and fear what has not yet come. But when we learn to accept the present as it is, something magical happens. The weight of the past and the future disappears. We become lighter, more assertive, and happier. Living in the present does not mean ignoring the past or failing to plan for the future. It means understanding that the only real time is now. When we embrace this Stoic principle, we find peace, purpose, and, above all, freedom. Seventh principle: self-awareness. Self-awareness is the key to a strong mind and a well-directed life. For the Stoics, understanding oneself is not just an intellectual exercise but a fundamental necessity for living with purpose, making wise decisions, and maintaining balance in the face of uncertainty. Without this understanding, we are like ships adrift, driven by fleeting impulses and emotions, without a clear direction. The Stoics advocated for the practice of self-examination, a constant reflection on our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Instead of reacting on autopilot, we should ask ourselves, why am I acting this way? Do my choices reflect my values? Am I being guided by reason or by momentary impulses? This process of internal observation allows us to identify destructive patterns and replace them with habits more aligned with who we truly want to be. Seneca said, "Nothing is more difficult than knowing oneself." Yet, this difficulty should not stop us from seeking this understanding every day. Much of human suffering comes from uncontrolled desires and irrational fears. We want more than we need, avoid discomfort at all costs, and often allow these emotions to dominate our decisions. Self-awareness gives us the power to question these invisible forces, distinguishing what is essential from what is merely a passing distraction. As Epictetus said, "Man is disturbed, not by things, but by the view he takes of them." By understanding what truly motivates us, we stop being hostages to unfounded desires and fears. We live surrounded by external expectations, from society to the people closest to us. But how many of these expectations truly reflect our beliefs and values? The Stoics teach us to constantly review our convictions, eliminating what does not align with our principles and strengthening what truly matters. This allows us to live with coherence and purpose, without being dragged down by empty patterns imposed from the outside. However, there is a balance between accepting who we are and striving for growth. A true Stoic recognizes their flaws but does not settle for them. They see their mistakes as opportunities for growth, not as definitive sentences. Instead of punishing themselves for the past, they learn from it. Healthy self-criticism is a powerful tool for transformation, while excessive guilt is just a useless burden. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "If something external causes you distress, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment of it. And you have the power to change that judgment now." Yet, our minds are masters at creating justifications for mistakes and weaknesses. Self-deception is a dangerous trap because it distorts reality to make us feel more comfortable. The Stoics warn us about this tendency and encourage us to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Only through honest analysis can we see our blind spots and avoid falling into the same traps repeatedly. Self-awareness is not a fixed destination but an ongoing process. As we understand ourselves better, we refine our choices, strengthen our virtues, and become more resilient. The Stoic journey is not about achieving a state of perfection but about being in constant evolution. And as we cultivate this understanding, we stop being prisoners of our emotions and impulses, and instead, we live with greater clarity, control, and purpose. This is the true freedom that Stoicism offers: the ability to govern oneself and, in doing so, face any challenge with serenity and wisdom. So, which of these principles resonated most with you? Let us know in the comments which one you'll start applying today. Remember, Stoicism is not a magical solution but a constant practice. Every small step you take toward these principles is a step toward a more serene and meaningful life. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot in bringing more content like this to you. And there's already another video appearing on the screen that could be the next step in your journey of growth. Click on it and keep learning how to become the best version of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Until then.